Hello everyone. I'm going to share some visions which are beautiful word pictures of the seasons we live in and very important to hear them. This particular one called The Five Visions of the Season by Bill Burns from Faith Tabernacle. The Five Visions of the Season. The five visions identify the works of Jesus Christ among his people in the season of the third day of Jesus Christ. The work is progressive in nature and is still taking place and will continue on for some time. When the door will be shut, no one knows for certain. However, we do know that time is short. Knowing this, I urge every believer to seek the Lord for confirmation of these visions. If you are one of those who truly desire to do the will of God, I say, come. Come to Zion, the city of God. Come and be a part of the glorious church. The way has been made available to those who will lay down their baggage and cross over into spiritual Zion, the spiritual habitation of the Most High. May the Lord bless you as you read these visions, and may He give you revelation that is above and beyond that which I have written. Ask the Master to open the eyes of your understanding so that you may experience the visions as I did. If you do this, you will not just be reading the visions, but you will participate in them. The will of the Lord for His people is that He would have us to walk through the visions with Him. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receiveth, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Matthew 7:8. The bridge. In a vision I saw a bridge that the Lord was building, and then that vision has expanded so that I saw more of the details of what was taking place. I saw a city, and I asked the Lord, what city is this? The Master answered, the name of this city is Christian City. It represents the church, but it will soon be called Babylon. He then asked me a question, what are they doing? I quickly went from house to house, and then I gave this report. They are watching television and the news reports about the election results in America, and they are discussing what will come of all of this. The Lord then said, what did you learn from the watching? I replied, America is divided. He then said, as it is in the natural, so it will be with the church. Watch and learn. As I watched, an angel flew over the city and cried out with a loud voice, come out of her, you people of the Lord, for the Master is calling you to come out from among them, and touch not the unclean things of this world. The time is short. Come and follow your Jesus. I watched in amazement, for most of those in the city were too engrossed with the cares of their world to answer the call. However, some had listened, and some had obeyed, and they came forth from the city. As they gathered together for the journey, I noticed that each one brought their baggage with them. Some carried only a briefcase, some had a couple of suitcases, some were pulling a small cart filled with an assortment of bags. An angel then called to the people and told them to follow the trail called Zion's Way to the top of the mountain. The people obeyed and followed the ancient pathway to the top of the mountain. It was quite a hard journey for some who were pulling carts because the path was narrow and it was also steep. They all made it to the top of the mountain, but they came to a deep canyon and they could proceed no further. They camped there not knowing what to do. At this point the Lord began to speak to them, and this is what He said. You are here because you have each desired to know me, and this is why you were able to hear me. This is why you have obeyed the command to follow me. Many of you desire to know me better than you do now. You have often struggled because of unbelief, but as you cross over this canyon, your desires shall be fulfilled. The name of the mountain that you are camped on is called Second Day. The mountain across the canyon is Mount Zion. That is your destination. Some of those in the camp said, but Lord, how shall we cross over? The Master replied, examine yourselves now. Do any of you have any faith? I say that all things are possible with God. Do you have any faith? A few of the people said, Yes, Lord. We believe that if you want us to go to Zion, then you will make the way. The Lord of hosts then commanded the angels to gather up the faith of those who had spoken and said, Build my bridge. The angels then brought the faith of those who spoke to the edge of the canyon and began to build. As the angels picked up the faith of the people, their faith took on a shape of various size of bricks, depending on the faith that was produced. As the angels set a brick in place, the master builder Jesus would bind them together with a substance which I knew was his glory. As his glory touched each brick, the brick became larger, and the work was began. This work quickened the faith of the people, and soon shouts of faith were heard throughout the camp, and more building bricks were produced. The work was progressing quite well when an angel came and posted a sign at the gateway to the bridge which read, This bridge leads to Zion. As you cross over, you will enter into the third day. The name of the bridge is the narrow way, and you cannot take away of your baggage with you. I want to make that comment that the third day is the 3,000 years since Christ. So 2,000 passed, and the third day is really the millennial kingdom. Back to the story. The bridge was indeed very narrow and had handrails on it that would not allow any baggage to be carried across it. The bridge was designed so that it was necessary that one's hand remains in constant contact with the rails to ensure a safe journey. The name of the rails were Hope. At this point I began to see that each piece of baggage had a name on it. I saw bondage and unbelief labels on some, and others were called compromise, works of the flesh, fear, and many other things that had become attachments to this word. I had also noticed that those who carried briefcases had never set them down, not even for a moment. The labels on the briefcases were identifying different kinds of ministries. The master then spoke. This canyon represents a further place of division. The baggage that you have brought with you belongs to the second day, and you cannot bring it with you. You must decide, for those things cannot be brought into the third day. If you will leave your baggage and cross over by faith, I will deliver you from the bondages of the second day and bring you into the glory of the third day where all things become new. This is a time of the great crossover. Come, my people, for the bridge is finished. Cross over now before the night comes, and the way cannot be found. Forget those things which are behind you, and process forward into the bright and glorious new day. To my delight, most of the people who had followed the Master to the mountaintop crossed over. They left their baggage and by faith crossed the bridge. But not all. Some could not bear to give up their possessions, and like the rich young ruler, they went back down the mountain, back to Babylon and bondage. How sad that is. Oh my God. That is horrible, people. The sun was now setting, and back down the valley I could see the dim light of the city. It was now time for me to also cross the bridge. As I reached the other side of the canyon, the darkness was behind me, and I could see a great light before me. This was the light of Zion, the city set upon the mountain of the Lord. The echo of the Master's word have pursued me. Cross over now, for deep darkness is coming upon the earth, but the light of my glory shall rest upon my people. What about you? Will you lay aside your baggage and the sin that so easily beset you? Will you come and cross over the bridge of faith? Will you come to the mountain of the Lord? Micah 4:1-2. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow to it. Many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his path. For out of Zion the law shall go forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. This concluded the first vision, and of course, because of the time, we're gonna cut here. In closing, I want to tell you, we are now on the top of this mountain. We climbed and there is no place to go. We have to hear and obey. No matter how impossible the Lord is asking us, we have to do it. And yes, darkness is coming. And some of you may feel that going through a tunnel of darkness. But I also want to share with you that the Lord told me years ago that there is light for you on the end of the tunnel. And that was in 2000, I would say 2006 or 7. And I went through a difficult situation and I really struggled and had a very hard time grieving in the spirit. And the Lord sent an apostle from out of town who did not know me and said to me, "There is light for you on the end of the tunnel." That lightened my burden. That was a Sunday service. And I went home and immediately the radio began to sing that song, "There is light for you on the end of the tunnel." So let's close this message with saying there is light for you on the end of the tunnel, but make sure that you pursue it and nothing can hold you back on your path, because by faith nothing is impossible for you. And I love you so much. God bless you.